Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Kashmir areas, it means India is fully prepared to not only continue with this, but respond in any manner that Pakistan might deserve even harder strikes.
Okay.
And therefore, I think the preparation done by India in making sure that
Right.
the civil defense is ready for any external
General Panu,
exigency prepared.
General Panu, good morning, sir. This is Anand Narasimhan here. Glenn Carl is also with us. Good early morning to you, Glenn. Just quickly showing the 9 targets, and if you can explain to our viewers the significance of these 9 camps, starting from POK, right from the top, Muzaffarabad, downward into POK, and then Kotli, and then getting into Gulpur, Bhimber, and Bhimber Gali has been often talked about in defense parlance for incursions, LOC violations, etc. Sialkot, Muridke, Bawalpur, and then there is Chak Amru. There is significance of all these regions, but this is into deep into Pakistan space, into Pak Punjab, Muridke and Bahawalpur. Like General Panu was saying, Muridke is the hub of the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Hafiz Saeed, Zakir Rahman Lakhvi. Bahawalpur is where the Pakistanis have their biggest air base, but not far away from there. The Jaish-e-Mohammed has its biggest headquarters and its biggest camp. It was about 2 acres earlier. It's grown up to 18 acres in the last 6-7 years. And that's where the Jaish was training its cadre and housing them. So these are the 9 targets. General Panu, if you could explain these and the significance of these camps and the reason why the Indian authorities are very openly claiming these are the places that have been struck.
If you look at how these targets have been placed on the map, and you realize that this is all along the LOC and the international border. Most of the targets obviously are in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
And you on the screen, please. Yeah, so that you can explain it. Yes, sir. Please continue.
Most of these targets are across the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. But Bahawalpur, Muridke, and Sialkot Chak Amru are actually sitting on the border where the line of control starts, further north, like Bhimber, Kotli, Muzaffarabad. Muzaffarabad actually is the capital of the Kashmir, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir from their side. If you go from Srinagar to Uri, you cross over, and 60 kilometers from our line of control is Muzaffarabad. Then Kotli is very close from where Punjab starts, south of that. Kotli is the area where many terrorist camps have always remained active. So these are the areas which are hubs of ISI. These are the hubs where the headquarters and training areas of the terrorists have remained. Most of the terrorists are actually brought from wherever, and these are also not only the launch pads, but these are training areas and headquarters. These are not launch pads. Launch pads are much closer. Launch pads are sort of 5 to 6 kilometers. Last time when surgical strikes happened, they were in the launch pads. But these are in the larger hubs where more terrorists are actually not only staying there for training, but also staying with family. They've got their cottage industry where they make their IEDs. Weapons are kept there. Arms and ammunition is there. And that is where the Pakistan Army and ISI are also co-opted with them.
What I want to know from you, 3 things that were emphasized in the Indian government statement. One, that the LOC was not crossed. These hits were happening from the Indian side of the LOC. Number 2, that these are not escalatory in nature. India does not want to escalate this any further, provided there is no retaliation from Pakistan. And third, of course, that no military installations were targeted. My question is, if you were on the other side and if you were watching this from Pakistan, the fact that Bahawalpur, which is in the heart of Punjab, has been hit, Muridke, which is the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, has been hit, how may the enemy and the enemy's generals choose to respond to this?
As far as Pakistan Army is concerned, I think they were all expecting this kind of attack to happen. In fact, this was triggered as far as the Chief of Pakistan Army is concerned. He wanted some amount of action to happen to save him from drowning in the situation that he was in. Firstly, he might declare himself to be in control of the situation because it is beyond the political masters. Actually, there are no political masters in Pakistan anymore. They're political puppets. So the entire control from today onwards would go into the hands of the Pakistani chief, and that is
All right.
exactly what he wanted. He might even go a step ahead and declare himself as the chief martial law administrator, because I think he wanted, for his own personal survival and survival of his own army, which was losing credibility.
Correct.
Their own generals were being hit by their own people. I think the economic side of it and
All
the
right.
side where you control the waters, I think people are going to be impacted, and I think Pakistan Army is going to make sure that they are not attacked by the people, and they would build a consensus
All right,
within their own people that
General
Pakistan
Banu,
is under
just
threat.
give me a moment, because Mr. Michael Rubin, former Pentagon official and senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, is also joining us. So there have been multiple conversations. The National Security Advisor of India, Mr. Dowell, has spoken to the acting NSA of the United States, Marco Rubio. I believe Secretary Rubio has also spoken with the acting NSA in Pakistan, General Asim Malik. What would be the nature of conversations that they would have had or that are happening right now? What is America's sort of primary interest right now that India has confirmed that these strikes have happened? Pakistan has also confirmed that these strikes have happened. What should America, the rest of the world, be looking out for, bracing for?
Look, what acting National Security Advisor Marco Rubio would have said was, first of all, how far do you plan to go? He's probably conveying messages to the Pakistani acting National Security Advisor in order to de-escalate. Right now, from an American point of view, President Trump doesn't want this to go further. Frankly, if I'm looking at this from an Indian point of view, or a point of view seeking truly to disincentivize further terror, I don't think this goes far enough.
Why do you say that?
Because if the reaction that...
All right, I think his frame has...
proportional,
All right, go ahead.
then that is simply going to convince the Pakistanis that they can get away with murder. This is the same pattern which the Israelis fell into, in which Hamas would attack, the Israelis would respond symbolically, things might be quiet for a few months, and then we would see that cycle again. Fundamentally, however, the problem is Pakistan's reliance on terrorism as a tool of state policy. So you have the military aspect, but with Pakistan going before the International Monetary Fund on May 9th, if Pakistan was also denied the $1 billion they're seeking, that would send a further message. I'd even go further. While India is right in order to let the Pakistanis know that they are responsible for this retaliation, if Hudaydah can go boom in the night, and if Bandar Abbas can explode in the night, I see no reason why the port of Karachi or even the port of Gwadar should be so immune. The important thing in such a case is to continue strategic deniability and not claim responsibility in that situation. But trust me, the Pakistanis will get the message.
But Mr. Rubin, the big concern right now, and I'm sure this is a concern in Washington as much as it is here in Delhi, in Islamabad, is that this doesn't escalate into a full-blown war. And I'm interested and curious to know something that you said a moment ago about Pakistan has to go to the IMF in a couple of days from now. Does that disincentivize the Pakistan army from retaliating against what India has just done?
Well, let me put it this way. It disincentivized the Pakistanis until May 9th, but if they get that money in their banks, then they're simply not going to care anymore. The question I have is, does the network of Pakistani terror, does the network of the ISI cost more than $1 billion? If it does, and if money is fungible, what we're seeing is the unintentional subsidization of Pakistani terror, and that must end. Now, you're absolutely right that the major concern of Marco Rubio and Donald Trump, as well as Indian and Pakistani leaders, is going to be not escalating to the point of a full-scale war.
Well,
first of all,
Mr. Rubin, how far will the American administration go to help India achieve this deterrence? Because, look, it's all very well to say that the IMF, this, that, the other, bailing out Pakistan, but if the international community doesn't act in concert, you're not going to have enough pressure built on some of these organizations which do fund Pakistan, give them an economic lifeline.
Look, I agree with you completely there. The good news here is Prime Minister Modi has a deep personal relationship with President Donald Trump. Now, what Donald Trump said when this terror attack occurred, and he made this ridiculous and ahistorical moral equivalency about how this has been going on across the border for 1,500 years, that was ignorant. The parallel I would draw is when Saddam Hussein in 1990 invaded Iraq. President George H.W. Bush didn't quite know what to do, and he was hand-wringing. And Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, got up to him and said, "Don't go wobbly on me now, George. What we need Prime Minister Modi to do is not just in a single phone call, but in repeated phone calls say, don't go wobbly on me now, Don, and trust me." President Trump listens to Prime Minister Modi more than he listens to Pakistan. It's an easy case to make, but it's got to be made repeatedly. Marco Rubio is going to understand. We need to make Donald Trump understand, and we need to understand that this can't continue to be an endless cycle of
very
Pakistani
quickly,
terrorism.
Zach, some more information coming in. Top government sources speaking to CNN News 18 saying that these places that have been selected carefully, and terror training was given to them by top commanders under the guidance of Masood Azhar and Hafiz Saeed. So these were really active terror hubs. These were not sites that have fallen into disuse, etc. They were involved in recruiting new cadre and chosen one sent to the LOC for infiltration. So there was an ongoing infiltration, Anand, going on. We have information that Jaish has non-Afghani foreign terrorists also brought from Afghanistan after Taliban threw them out. Jaish is equipped with leftover weapons and they wanted to attack in a big way. So this is a preemptive strike on terror targets in Pakistan.
But not just preemptive strikes, the numbers will be far greater if this is how if these are the targets and this is the hub, and in terms of the seminaries that have been targeted and the terror hubs that have been targeted, the number of people who would have been neutralized. We have to see if there are some top terror akas who have also been neutralized as part of Operation Sindoor. A big one at that. General Narasimhan is also with us. Namaste, Jai Hind. Good early morning. Your thoughts on this calibrated response by Bharat?
Good morning, and thanks for having me on this show. The 9 places that have been targeted have been very carefully chosen. They are actually the terrorist hubs and terrorist bases. And these are ranging from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to rest of the Pakistan. So it is a widespread kind of a thing that has been done. That is number one. Number two, it has been very clearly made that there is no Pakistan army installation that has been targeted. The third, there has been no civilian targets that have been targeted. These are the main things that we need to keep in mind. And this is basically a retaliation to what happened in Pahalgam, and that cannot go unavenged. It has to be avenged, and this is part of the thing that has been happening. And notwithstanding that, you would...
Will this restore deterrence? Because that's really what we were after, weren't we?
Absolutely. And this is actually a punitive kind of an action that has been taken on. I have been in other shows where I have been advocating this, that one such probably attack cannot actually give the deterrence. It may give a deterrence for some time. Like, for example, in 2016 and 19, when we did the surgical strikes in Balakot, it gave us some kind of a reprieve for a particular period of time. But what we need to do probably is to keep the pressure on all fronts. Like, for example, diplomacy, economy, military, on all fronts. We need to continue to keep this pressure on Pakistan so that they do not venture into this kind of a terrorist action again. So this is something that we need to continuously do.
General, one quick question. The concern right now, and I'm sure everyone is worried about this, is what is going to be Pakistan's response to this? Will there be retaliation? Will there be counter strikes against India? How prepared is India for this? Because India also does not want to escalate this, because the statements from the Ministry of Defence, from the Army is very clear. Non-escalatory, LOC has not been crossed, no military installations have been targeted. So how does India prepare for what could be a Pakistani retaliation?
The retaliations already we can see on the line of control, where the artillery bombardments have already started. The small arms fighting has been going on for some time now. So the retaliation in some form is already starting. So we need to be prepared for any kind of retaliation that comes from Pakistan. That is number one. As part of that, when we are doing these mock-up drills for civil defense, it was actually a preparation for even the civil administration to be prepared for any eventuality that could happen. So we need to be prepared for all kinds of eventualities. Not only the military part of it, even the civilian part of it need to be prepared for everything. And that is the way I think our government has gone about preparing everybody. I think we are well on the way to be defending any kind of action that could come from Pakistan.
You made a very interesting point there. You said that, even the civilians need to be prepared, well prepared. Are you surprised that this has happened before, in fact, the nationwide drill was to be conducted, which was actually to happen today?
Well, I was not so well surprised, because when this thing was announced, I knew something is going to happen. Because this is generally the way things happen. We don't go and announce that I'm going to attack today. But then if you follow the preparations that are going on, you can well actually imagine as to when this is going to happen. I was not actually surprised. In fact, I was mentioning to people here at my home that something could happen today or tomorrow. So that has happened. So this is something I'm sure even any professional guy would actually look into it and analyze this in some form or the other. So what we need to do now is actually to be prepared for anything that could happen from the other side as a retaliatory measure.
All right, Glenn Carl is also with us. Wing Commander Sahai is also there. Glenn Carl, just in terms of, what the international ramifications of this could likely be. We know already that Secretary of State Rubio has been spoken to by the Indian National Security Advisor. He's also spoken to his Pakistani counterpart. Clearly, the US and other Western countries would want to ratchet down tensions between India and Pakistan. And we've seen this in the past as well. We saw in 2019 how Mr. Pompeo spoke with Sushma Swaraj at that time, also his Pakistani counterpart. We saw this in the Kargil war when Nawaz Sharif went and met Bill Clinton, and eventually Bill Clinton intervened to stop the war, to finally bring it to a conclusion. The point is, what are the conversations that are happening right now? And also put into context for us that in 2 days' time, Pakistan has that all-important meeting at the IMF where it's expecting $1 billion bailout.
Well, I think the circumstances are different now for Pakistan in particular. Pakistan, I perceive as being more isolated than even 5 years ago. With the American departure from Afghanistan, Pakistan and the decline in the, quote, war on terror as a focus of American policy and global issues, Pakistan is no longer as needed, frankly. And so it will not, America is not caught in two contradictory needs of support from Pakistan and wishing to press. Therefore, I think Pakistan is more isolated than before. Also, the Trump administration is, I think, clearly viscerally inclined to understand or support actions against Islamic terrorist groups by anyone with less concern than previous administrations. So what I suspect is happening, if the Indians do what I think is standard, really, you make the strike, you issue the warnings, you say, as we know has been said in public, listen, this is a retaliation, this is limited, we have not struck the following kinds of targets, and that's the end of it. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, India should be saying to Pakistan, understand the following. Of course we will strike you if you continue to support the kind of action that occurred in Kashmir, but it's in your interest not to raise the tensions by an unnecessary response. We have been restrained, and you should understand that. And if Pakistan is intelligent, or wise, I would argue, they would probably they should take that on board for their policy. That doesn't mean that they will at all, because a lot of this is not kabuki, but demonstrative for diplomatic reasons and public reasons, both by India and Pakistan. None of this will really affect Pakistan's long-term sustained support through the ISI of terrorist groups creating problems for India and Kashmir. Sustained pressure of the sort that you touched upon, if possible, and that's if is always a big word, of causing sustained financial pressure, diplomatic pressure, and very aggressive but quiet intelligence operations by Indian intelligence services against
Mr. Carl, more information coming through. I just need to update our viewers who are tuning in. This morning, of course, viewers, very early in the morning, India struck certain targets in Pakistan. Indian government has put out information to suggest there were 9 targets.
9 locations.
This is a non-escalatory strike. These were targets that were selected purposefully away from civilian areas, but very, very targeted at terror infrastructure in Pakistan. And now we're getting more information about what some of these targets are. And this information has been changing. So viewers, clearly we have to await official releases by the government. But as of now, what we are being told is Bahawalpur 2 spaces have been hit. Muridke, Muzaffarabad, Kotli, Gulpur, Bhimber, Chak, Amru and Sialkot. These are 9 spots that have been sort of confirmed as the ones that were targeted. And I think Anand just showed them on the map, and we've also been running them through our experts.
Now, interestingly, what happens is there is also a further travel advisory. We'll go back to the map and explain that. A lot of people who have air travel planned at least till late half of the day in this region surrounding perhaps the western borders with Pakistan and those regions. Please be careful. Please check your flights because some of the airports are shut. Air India has just now said that they have suspended all flight operations in Jammu, Srinagar, Leh, Jodhpur, Amritsar, Bhuj, Jamnagar, Chandigarh and Rajkot till about 12 noon.
So all of these are close to the border.
And this is all precautionary because we don't know what the Pakistanis may end up doing. Anything foolhardy, and perhaps that's why airlines are backing their airspaces. Let's try and look at the maps and the recalibration of, and it's just addition of more locations. Total 9 targets. Now we're getting some more new names that have come in. 9 targets. They were breeding ground for Afghan terrorists and also by the being trained by certain terror tanzeems. There are 9 overall, 9 targets. We had earlier got 4 locations. That was Muzaffarabad, Kotli, Muridke and Bahawalpur. Now let's add Chak Amru there. Sialkot has now found mention. Bhimber has found mention. Gulpur has found mention. So now we have about 9 locations which have been targeted. These are all terror bases. Bahawalpur particularly, why there are 2 sites. 2 sites in Bahawalpur. The reason being for them is because Bahawalpur, the Jaish has a huge spread. The Jaish headquarters in Bahawalpur, we are given to understand, and we've broken this here on CNN News 18, that it spreads over 18 acres. So to target that kind of an area and specifically target the key seminary madrasas where the Jaish cadre was being trained in those 18 precise locations, there are two locations here in Bahawalpur. Muridke is a smaller group or a smaller Lashkar headquarters which is spread over about 2.5 to 3 acres. So Muridke has been targeted. There is Sialkot, Chak Amru. These are all terror camps and there are multiple terror tanzeems. Muzaffarabad, which also acts as the capital of Pak-occupied Kashmir, has a huge hub where the annual jihadi conference also happens. About 300 jihadi tanzeems.
On this name of the Operation Sindoor.
So Operation Sindoor,
Deep meaning. We're getting sources telling CNN News 18 that it was approved by Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself, who has of course been monitoring this entire strike. Sources said that the way terrorists had wiped off the Sindur of multiple Hindu women in Pahalgam by killing their husbands mercilessly and by targeting them for being Hindu, India has taken revenge for them and got justice for the Pahalgam victims, women and children. An image was tweeted by the Indian Army depicting Operation Sindoor. So that's really
this is the sentiment, if I could say in Hindi, and this is very core to it, कि जिन्होंने तुम्हारी मांग का सिंदूर उजाड़ा, उनके establishments को ही हम पूरी तरह से तबाह कर देंगे. We are going to destroy the from where those perpetrators originated, who widowed you, who robbed you of your sindoor, and this is to claim back and to bring back the honor. So to the widows of those who perished, who were singled out and gunned down, this is an ode from the Bharatiya government and from the forces. So that's why it is Operation Sindoor. That's the raw emotion behind or the thought behind Operation Sindoor.
To the map, and I want to get Wing Commander Sahai if he's there with us. Out of these 9 locations, 2 happen to be in Pakistan, Punjab proper. One is Bahawalpur, of course, the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. The other is Muridke, which is the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. In fact, they have the big thing called the Markaz-e-Taiba, which is their big headquarters. It's barely, both of these places are barely 30, 40, 50 kilometers from Lahore, the heart of Punjab. How may this be viewed again in Pakistan? Because Punjab is the very heartbeat of Pakistan. How may this be viewed in general headquarters in Rawalpindi by General Munir? Because he's the one who really ratcheted up with those comments about Kashmir being the jugular vein and Hindus and Muslims are essentially 2 different people and 2 different nations, etc.
Yeah, certainly, because the very fact that this time we have decided to enter deep into Pakistan and especially close to Punjab, it's a clear-cut message from India to Pakistani establishment that your doctrine of bleeding India through thousands cuts will not work now. We know we have decided that we will not only hit the terrorists, we will hit the people who have been supporting it. The establishments, generals from Pakistani Punjab regions are responsible for this, and Indian armed forces is well aware unless we inflict damage to their establishment deep inside Pakistan, this will not work as a deterrence. So this time, India has put a strong message across that if you hit us, we will not only hit the terrorists, we will not hesitate going deep into your territory and hitting the targets of our choice.
Wing Commander Sahib, what do you make of this attack? The precision, what do you think are the munitions that were used, etc.?
As far as the informations received now during the early stage, we have used a scalp and hammer missiles. We have also taken the help of the drones, the sophisticated drones which India has developed. We have been tracking down the movements of shifting of these terrorists from their camps to different locations. We have been monitoring the changing location of Hafid Saeed, and we have selected our target after careful monitoring.
Wing Commander,
of
I'm
their
sorry to
movements.
interrupt. I'm very sorry to
Marco
interrupt.
Rubio.
The first tweet coming in from a US official, Secretary of State and acting NSA, Marco Rubio, has just tweeted, and I quote, "I am monitoring the situation between India and Pakistan closely. I echo POTUS, President of the United States, his comments earlier today that this hopefully ends quickly and will continue to engage both Indian and Pakistani leadership towards a peaceful resolution." So this is the first statement explicitly from a US official saying that they want a peaceful resolution and that hopefully this ends quickly and will continue to engage both Indian and Pakistani leadership. And I think, India is also echoing what the US is saying, that India does not want to escalate this either. The only party that may have an interest in escalating this is Pakistan, if they choose to respond.
And Zach, look, I mean, this is by the playbook. We were expecting visible action against Pakistan on Pakistani soil. We've done it. But we also made it very clear. The Prime Minister has been extremely responsible from day one. In fact, many people were quite disappointed that he didn't name Pakistan, this, that, the other. But he was very focused in his messaging. He said that there are individuals who are a threat to India's territorial integrity. We are going to strike those. There will be unimaginable punishment for those. And obviously, there was hype and hoopla in the Indian media suggesting that this would be an attack on the Pakistani state.
If I can quickly just ask Glenn Karl for his thoughts on what Mr. Rubio, the Secretary of State, has put out. Is it also a message to Pakistan that, look, don't escalate this further. Let's leave it at this. Let's resolve this peacefully. And let's hopefully end this quickly.
I think I agree. Yes, I think that's the primary message that one should take from the Secretary of State's comment. There's no criticism whatsoever, which is actually tacit acceptance, or if not approval, of India's action. And there is a statement, as you just said, okay, enough now, let's not have this escalate. And clearly the initiative or the response, the next step needs to come from Pakistan, and they have a decision to make. Do they want to escalate matters or not? And the U.S. there was saying, well, don't do that. It's not in anyone's interest to do so. So de facto support for India's action and a caution for everyone, but in particular for Lahore, don't take any escalatory
But Glenn, what's your reading? What's your reading? Do you think the Pakistanis are going to back off, or should Bharat be ready for some kind of a counter? And does that then mean there will be a step up on the escalation ladder?
I would anticipate that Pakistan will take some sort of a step because honor and image and self-regard with respect to one's public tend to drive policy more than reason. So someone's been hit.
There's just this one thing that we should all note, and to our viewers, that this is what my net takeout of that Pakistani press conference is. They have tried to make it about mosques and Islam. Bharat has very clearly said that we have targeted terror. It's a war on terror. It's not a war against Pakistan or Pakistan's military or people, civilians. I think we continue to underline that. But their messaging has been, they're trying to drag it towards the religion aspect. They're trying to highlight mosque was targeted. This is an attack on Islam, not on Pakistan. That's the effort at the narrative. And General Narasimhan, if you're there with us, what does that then mean? Because we have named this operation as Operation Sindoor. So clearly there is, because Hindus were targeted out, there were women who were widowed, their loved ones, men were singled out, they were gunned down. There's a deep meaning to Sindoor as per as our culture, and that Sindoor ki laaj rakhi hai, that's the message that's come from the Prime Minister when he's himself approved this name. The armed forces back that sentiment, a nation, the world backs this sentiment. But the Pakistanis, if you read their messaging, are trying to drag it away from terror towards Islam and mosques and Islam, etc. Now, how will that mean Asim Munir and his ilk will respond?
You see, this is not again new. When we were doing things against terror, they were always dragging us towards religion and other issues. This is not new. So basically what they would do, like I agree with Carl when he said that, there'll be, I think the Pakistani Prime Minister has called for a meeting at 10:30 today morning. So he will probably try and do something to save his own reputation and the army's reputation, something he has to do. So we need to expect some kind of a reaction. They may divert it towards Islam and people, etc.
I request your thoughts on this. Manoj Kumar Gupta, our Group Editor, Security Affairs and Investigation, is getting us these details that NSA Ajit Doval along with a special team actually spearheaded this entire operation, and he was present. That's why the multiple meetings, perhaps on hindsight we can understand, with the Prime Minister. There were no missiles used. There was loitering munition used, but no missiles that were used. The story behind Operation Sindoor, I think we can all understand where it comes from. The sentiment was Mang ka Sindoor Ujada, and Operation Sindoor is to take the badla or the revenge. It was an intelligence-led operation is what they're saying. NTRO played important role with initial targets. All the targets that were chosen were selected, very carefully selected. Each one was monitored for a second round. Then it was decided to hit only the terror targets. So the 9 targets have been specifically chosen after multiple iterations. Final call taken by the NSA. Prime Minister was briefed after the final work, and the NSA got the go-ahead to do it. Small group was aware of the task, and there was a small control task and control group that was set up.
Anand, just give me one moment. Yeah. Shri Thanedar is a US congressman. He's joining us. I want to get a quick reaction from him. Mr. Thanedar, your first reactions are also Marco Rubio has just tweeted saying he's carefully watching what's happening between India and Pakistan and urge both sides not to escalate further. Your thoughts?
Well, look, India has done what it needed to do. India needed to respond. Those were barbaric terrorist attacks. Terrorism must never be tolerated. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has done the right thing. He has done this with a lot of restraint. They have chosen the sites, infrastructure that these terrorists used. So I applaud Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji for having a very measured response, a very calculated response, and a just response. It is time for the United States government to stand with India, support India in this India's hour of need. Just like we have been supporting Israel, our friend Israel, our ally Israel, we must also support India as India fights terrorism. These terrorists chose to murder Hindus. Hindu men specifically. That needs to be addressed. I think Narendra Modi and India has done the right thing to take action.
Congressman Thanedar, how concerned would America be, and the Trump administration in specific be, if this were to spiral out of control, if Pakistan were to retaliate? And what may be the nature of conversations that are happening right now between Washington, Delhi, Washington, Islamabad to try and, rein things back?
Look, I have asked the U.S. State Department to give us a briefing on this. The U.S. must ensure that there is an independent investigation. Early indications are that this is a Pakistan state government supported terroristic act. If that comes to be true, then United States must use its power, use its relationship with Pakistan, use its economic relationship, use its military sales relationship to bring pressure on Pakistan, demand that Pakistan stops this kind of support of terrorism. And U.S., if necessary, must use economic sanctions, stoppage of military sales, whatever it takes to stop Pakistan from participating and supporting terrorist activities against India or anywhere else in the world.
Shri Thanedar, that's a very important sentiment you have reflected, but I just want to ask you a couple of things. Over the last few years, obviously, Pakistan has drifted closer into the China sphere, and I wanted to also bring that to Glenn Carl in just a few moments. How much real leverage does Washington have over Pakistan right now? Number one. Number two, as perhaps an Indian origin legislator in the United States, how much pressure are people like you and those part of the Indo-US caucus willing to bring upon Trump to intercede in a manner that stills Pakistan's hand and intentions?
Well, look, there is a lot of military cooperation between United States and Pakistan. There's a lot of economic activity between United States and Pakistan. So United States have a lot of leverage, a lot of power over Pakistan. It must exercise that because it must finally see it that Pakistan is the one that is harboring terrorism. Pakistan is the one that has been supporting terrorist activities. And there has been atrocities against the Hindus in Pakistan. And now these terrorists have come.
And in the past, you have moved
attacked.
resolutions to this effect. Will you be moving a resolution against Pakistan, perhaps in the House of Representatives or even other bodies where you can bring pressure to mount on the American administration right now?
Yes, I would use everything in my power because, I strongly believe that terrorism must be defeated across the world. What happened in Israel was atrocious. What's happening in India here, India has suffered at the hands of terrorism, and it is important that Pakistan be questioned, Pakistan be punished if Pakistan is really involved in this terrorist attack.
All right, Mr. Thanedar, thank you very much for joining us at this early morning hour here in India. Thank you for joining us with your thoughts and perspectives. So once again, bringing you up to speed, if our viewers are joining us early this morning, India has had precision strikes at 9 different locations across Pakistan. Some of the exclusive details of what has been codenamed as Operation Sindoor. The National Security Advisor and his special team was shepherding the entire operation. This was an intelligence-led operation. All 9 targets were chosen carefully, deliberately. These were terror launch pads and terror headquarters of certainly the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke and the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur, both of which these organizations have carried out multiple terrorist strikes in India over the last 20-30 years. And this was carefully chosen. The Prime Minister was given the operational details and he gave the final go-ahead. And it happened on the intervening night of the 6th and the 7th of May, early morning 7th of May at 1:44 a.m. is when the Indian Army tweeted that it had hit these multiple locations. I want to go back to General Narasimhan, Mr. Karl, and also Group Captain Vinod, who are all still with us. General Narasimhan, now the ball has to be set rolling. You're already seeing Marco Rubio's reaction. You're seeing reactions from the US. Presumably now we will see reactions from the other Western countries as well. What is going to be the number one priority now for the rest of the world, for India certainly, and how may we view what is going on, the thinking in Pakistan right now?
First thing is, I think we have taken all our friends on board. I mean, I'm sure you all would have noticed in the last about a week or so, there's been a lot of efforts to get our friends on board to what we are thinking and what we're about to do. I'm sure many of them would have known what we are doing, and I think they were on board with us on this particular thing. And the reactions from US is an indication of what has been happening and the kind of contact that has been established. That is number one. Number two, we need to look at the kind of reaction that will come from Pakistan, and that is, I think, we are mentally and physically both prepared, not only the armed forces, as I mentioned, even the civilian administrations all over is also well prepared for that. So that is the second thing. Third thing is we need to keep this on for some time. We don't know when Pakistan will react, when, if at all they react, and what time they will. We took 14 days. They can take even more. That is the third point that I'm sure you mentioned that the NSA, Mr. Ajit Doval and his team was working together. You all have actually put those photographs in on the media. NSA, CDS, all the three chiefs meeting the Prime Minister, and number of meetings have been taking place. CCS met, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs met, CCPA met after a very long time. So all these preparatory measures have been going on one after the other to cater for all eventualities that could come after this strike. So I think we are both mentally and physically well prepared.
What do you make of the timing? So in the first two instances, Uri, Balakot, 10 days, 12 days, now, on the 16th morning, so to speak, of the Pahalgam tragedy, we've had this. So clearly some time has been taken. What do you make of this and all the individual meetings that took place between the Prime Minister and the chiefs of the various wings of the military as well as the NSA? If you remember, just 2 days ago, many people sort of mocked the Prime Minister for holding these meetings, saying that this is all just optics and all of that. But we were not expecting a strike so soon. A lot of military experts had said that we should take our time, should plan it, because we need to keep this pressure on Pakistan.
So the thing is, all those people who are mocking at those meetings that actually don't know how systems work. So this is typically how you plan. Step by step, you have to close all the loopholes that you may have for a plan is something that we need to do. I think the Prime Minister, as well as the NSA, as well as the EAM and others, everybody who was involved in this, are actually doing a proper kind of planning. The timing, I think I was on your channel some time ago to say that, we should not act, we should not react, we should act. Reaction is something which Pakistan would have expected immediately after that incident. I think we took our time to plan correctly. I think we closed all the loopholes that could happen in those planning. And I think we went in at the right time. The timing of 12 days, 14 days, 16 days doesn't matter. I think we need to deliver the message correctly at the right time with the correct scope and the correct measure. That is extremely important. I think that is what we have been doing in the last 15, 16 days.
Okay, let me quickly... Yes.
Out one aspect, there has been a called out at some of the fake news that's being spread by the Pakistani propaganda machinery led by the DG ISPR has been called out by army sources itself. They are saying one of the claims that they are putting out is 15 locations have been hit inside India by missiles as retaliatory strike by Pakistan. That is fake. Srinagar airbase struck by Pakistan Air Force, again fake. Brigade headquarters of the Indian Army has been destroyed. That is also fake. So these are all claims that are being pushed around, that are being peddled. Viewers, please exercise discretion. Trust CNN News 18. Trust us here. We're putting out the actual correct information. If you see any of such claims being floated around, please remember that this is all fake. This is all propaganda from a rattled enemy who did not know what struck them in the dead of the night. 9 targets deep inside Pakistan have been targeted and with precision strikes, and that's what perhaps surprised them, and this will happen.
They've been sort of indulging
it's been happening. A MiG-29 that crashed 2-3 years ago has been peddled as a Rafale being struck down, etc., etc.
Not only that, they have been mentioning that some Su-30 has been, 2 Rafales have been shot down. This
Sir, it was a MiG-29 picture, sir. It was a MiG-29 picture.
I think
this is a Pak Army Air Force handle which was peddling video game footage sometime 3 days back, 4 days back, and they got called out by the likes of these video game manufacturers and also by X for saying you're pushing out fake videos.
If I can just bring in Mr. Glenn Carl for just about a minute or so. Glenn Carl, we're all looking at Washington and what Washington can do to still perhaps Pakistan's hand. How much influence does the Trump administration actually have on Islamabad, given the fact that Pakistan has veered very firmly into the Chinese sphere of influence? And we haven't heard from China. We've heard from the Global Times, the mouthpiece. We haven't heard officially from China even now.
Yeah, that's a significant point. And the United States has less influence than it did before. It's easier to support India, but because the U.S. is less intimately involved with Pakistan because of our involvement in Afghanistan, we have less leverage than we did before. On top of that, the Trump administration is clearly more isolationist than previous administrations, so relatively little. And the objective of isolating Pakistan will always run up against the problem that China is a significant part of the global economy and geostrategic equation, and is an ally of Pakistan. So we all cannot really succeed completely in isolating Pakistan. I think there's a significant point in the somewhat farcical announcements of the Pakistani military blowing up half of India in retaliation successfully and stealthily. All of the statements that are false news. That actually is significant because the primary objective for Pakistan is to appear to be strong and defending its honor against the enemy India for Pakistani's population. The domestic audience is the key one here. So if Pakistan were wise, what is their primary objective? It should be to avoid escalation, because what benefit do they have from that? They'll have zero, even if they have relative success militarily. So the way to do that would be to take a page out of Iran in the last 2 years, which when it was going to retaliate, so they said, against American forces in Syria, told the Americans offline and in public, we will retaliate and we're going to attack this specific area at this time. And then they blew up a bomb essentially in a field hours after the Americans had a chance to take shelter and to avoid the attack. The Iranians did the same thing twice with Israel.
All right,
Now,
Mr. Kal, I'm
Pakistan
sorry to
feels
interrupt.
that-
I'm really sorry to interrupt. We're joined by one of the family members of one of the victims who was killed in Pahalgam, Aarti Menon. She's spoken to us before as well. Ms. Menon, thank you very much for speaking to us. Your first thoughts, your first reactions to what India has done now in Pakistan in retaliation for what happened to your father and to 25 others in Pahalgam.
Yeah, actually, I was watching the news right now, and whatever loss happened to our family or any family of the victim, it's like it's a loss. Like we are trying to overcome, and I don't know whether we will overcome it. But this is a very comforting news that what I can see, very comforting at this moment of grief. It's a very comforting news, and I was thinking, like, when we went to our own country to enjoy our nature, to enjoy India, and the innocent tourist, innocent fathers, innocent brothers, innocent son was killed brutally in front of the daughters, mothers, wives, and therefore the Operation Sindoor, the name itself says it, isn't it? And the India attacking only the terrorist camp right now, focusing on it without attacking the civilians or the innocent tourist or anybody there. I'm being very proud, and I'm very moved at this moment. And I think all Indians who are watching this should be proud and will be proud of it. That's it. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, Aarti ji, amazing sentiment that you have expressed, and thank you for putting it into words. One cannot even express or feel the kind of pain and loss that you would have felt. I know your entire case study, but were you also waiting for this response? And do you believe?
We were like, we had the trust in the government, and we knew, like, everybody as an Indian would knew something is gonna come up, right? And waiting for the right moment. So we were closely watching the news, and we knew something would happen, and this is a very comforting news, as I said before.
You mentioned Operation Sindoor.
Yeah,
there is a
of
reason
course.
why this name was chosen. You understand the reason why?
The reason, who can more understand the reason? As a daughter who saw the encounter or killing of my father in front of my eyes, in front of me, when I was holding his hands, who can more? And then covering it up from my mother, because I didn't want to make her realize she's a widow, and I have to come from all the way from the north of Kashmir to south to the Kerala to Kochi. So I can understand the pain. A big salute.
Would you want to say something to our Prime Minister, to the Prime Minister of our country, and also to the Indian Armed
Of course,
Forces?
I just want to fold my both hands and say thank you to our Prime Minister Modi ji. A big thank you and big salute. And the trust we have always been built, like, it's more stronger than ever.
Aarti ji, I would like you to stay on with us, because we also have RKS Bhaduria, former Chief of Air Staff, who's also joining us at this point. RKS Bhaduria ji, Jai Hind, can you hear me, sir?
Jai Hind, I can hear you.
And I hope you heard Aarti. Aarti is the daughter of Mr. Menon, who was one of the 26 who was gunned down in Pahalgam. She was rare. Her father was more than 80 years old. And you heard her sentiment. What would you like to say?
It was just a matter of time. Prime Minister's directions were very, very clear. We have to inflict unimaginable punishment to these terrorists and their network. And I think Aarti should be very happy and proud that, what happened was absolutely heinous, absolutely barbaric and shameful from the terrorist side. But they must get a clear message that they cannot now ever get away with even the smallest of such acts. Zero terrorism policy of the government would be followed totally. And as per Prime Minister's directions, 9 targets striking 9 simultaneously, and all terrorist sites or their infrastructure, all as per reports emanating from Pakistan itself, indicate heavy damage, terrorist casualties. So it's a great achievement.
How would you evaluate the action, Air Chief? How would you evaluate this action that was taken by the forces today?
No, overall, looking at the situation, I think firstly, choice of targets, all terrorist targets, sites itself or their infrastructure. No, there was no military target. So in itself, it is a very clear message to Pakistan, to terrorists, and to the world as such that one, we are striking the terrorists and their network, and it was said upfront by Honorable Prime Minister. This is what we are going to do, and that is exactly what has been done. Then the magnitude of the operation undertaken, the kind of spread, the kind of weapons and used overall, the attack itself has taken a lot of precaution. It's very effective, measured. Collateral damage is likely to be absolute minimum when you use such precision weapons.
Air Chief, just one more question to Aarti Zaka.
Aarti, I just hope that you feel today a sense of justice. There'll never be a closure, like you said. No one can replace a father who's been killed in the manner in which your father was. But I hope there is a sense of justice that at least the wheels of justice have turned in your case.
Yeah.
I want a final comment and then I'll thank you after that.
Obviously there is a spark of justice there, and I wish and I pray that likewise any terrorist attack or any terrorist camp anywhere should be attacked in the same way. The reply is very much comforting, and this is what India is.
All right. Thank you very much, Aarti, for joining
not
us.
being very being covered and attacking the civilians who cannot defend them back. So this is what India is.
All right.
We are more courageous.
Thank you. You're very brave.
Thank you.
You're very brave.
Thank you.
This is just the beginning. And we will always support.
I think Aarti
thoughts must also go out to our civilian brothers and sisters along the LOC tonight and this morning. Because there has been cowardly shelling of the homes of some of the residents there by the Pakistanis. We've got visuals coming in of that. So 3 homes have been demolished and a couple of people have been injured.
This is happening after about 4 or 5 years in that region, largely peaceful. But I think people would understand, and let's hope, we pray for the safety and well-being of everybody. And a lot of them have already been moved to bunkers and safety shelters. Lieutenant General Devendra Pratap Pandey ji is with us. General Pandey, namaste, former GOC 15 Corps. This is Anand Narsimhan, with me, Rahul Shivshankar and Zaka Jacob. Jai Hind, your thoughts on this calibrated strike, 9 targets selected and with pinpoint precision damaged. Bahawalpur, we are given to understand the Jaish headquarters is totally smothered, totally damaged, destroyed.
Yeah, so
Operation Sindoor.
Once the Air Chief has said, I got hardly much to say. But let me point out one thing. I've been in somewhere opposite Bahawalpur for a couple of tenures besides my Kashmir 7 sojourns. And I used to always imagine, when are we going to hit this? Because essentially with POK, POJK, trans-border, trans-LC engagements were very, very norm. But in my mind, I always thought when this thing will be the heart and soul of the Lashkar and in Muridke, both Bahawalpur and this thing, Muridke is going to be hit, because essentially this is the place where the largest training camp rest, relief, coordination happened for both these things. And Muridke being very close to Lahore. Lahore is actually, जिन्हें लाहौर नहीं देखा वो जमे नहीं or something, those kind of stories are there. Was always very, very difficult mind how the forces are going to actually wrap around this challenge and hit very, very precise targets, because they are very close to also the habitation. They are very smart. The Pakistanis are very smart. They will build up the infrastructure, terrorist infrastructure, military infrastructure, surrounded by built up areas and this thing. So it becomes, they know we follow ethics. And it is great that we, over a period of time, especially the Air Force, Army and Navy, have developed instruments to apply in which we can actually pinpoint targets. And we were actually hoping, and yesterday, in fact, I was very fortunate that I had shaken hands with the Prime Minister. We are actually hoping that he is going to announce something. And the way the whole thing has been ranged out in the sense that today was a day when we are supposed to have carried out practice
drills,
and rehearsals.
Yeah.
So anybody would have thought that tonight, seventh night is night, or maybe here and after. But this whole packaging, if you look at it, is that even the Pakistan Army was fully aware that the movements were taking place. They were fully cognizant that we are going to come in with some sort of a form to punish them.
But General, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Everyone's concern right now is what happens next. Let's war game this out. Do you expect a retaliation from Pakistan? B, what may be the nature of that retaliation, and then what happens? How does India respond?
I feel, look, the nature, firstly, the nature of retaliation should be symbolic. There are a number of tools from zero to the ultimate use of systems. We have an escalatory ladder which is always applied in a control, because we are a responsible nation. We will always tell not only the world, even the Pakistani public, that look, this is the punishment for your leadership to have done something wrong, and herein we are willing to stop. Now it is up to your leadership to take it on. So this happened in Uri surgical strike. It happened in Balakot, where symbolism of touching beyond the IB was done. So, every time you do something, we are not getting after the public, which you will unfortunately see what will happen. When they will fire, they will attack our built-up areas, they attack our civilian areas, and they will avoid hitting our military targets. So that's the difference between the two of us. The security ladder will be controlled by us and not with this thing. And
therefore, how does the attack in your book, how does it sort of, what do you make of it, given the fact that we've been able to attack in Pakistan proper, not just in POK, and the Pakistani army, and the forces are supposed to have been on extreme alert, etc., etc. So it's very strange that they completely have been caught napping. And can you explain that? How did that happen?
It is not exactly they have been caught napping. I guess they were quite aware. Their all AD systems were up. They have been flying over sorties to protect. But this packaging by the Air Force has been done to suppress. Their systems have been suppressed. It is a standoff attack, from within our own the weapon systems which Air Force, and thanks to Air Chief Marshal Baduria and his team, that over a period of time they have got the packaging done so right that we can strike anywhere in the depth of the Pakistan. Pakistan is a state or a nation or wherever we want. We can fire at will.
I'll take a question with the Air Chief. This time, one is the statement is that it's a collective work of the entire armed forces. The other thing is no missile has been used, Air Chief. Loitering munitions is what's been indicated too. So is this a new the tool in the arsenal for the armed forces? Can you explain the loitering munitions, please, Air Chief?
Yeah, we've had loitering munitions sometime. We have inducted the advanced versions now. But to my mind, it will be some combination of loitering munitions and standoff precision weapons. So I don't have the details myself, but I would expect if 9 targets are chosen, it will be some combination. Some standoff weapons would have been used. and looking at some pictures that are emanating, that are coming up from Pakistan side in the social media, to me it is an indication that
General
there is a
Pandey,
conflict.
are you surprised by the choice of tactics that were employed?
I think, having been there while I've just retired, we had all these systems in place, but the manner in which we have been also talking of the year of in immersion of technology has been going on. So it's also an indication of technological superiority in terms of application of force this time. So this is something very new which has come about, and without having crossed the line, technically we have been able to hit range of targets, but mix of weapon systems or systems which have been applied. So it's something very unique, and while the Americans have done, the Israelis have done, possibly in our subcontinent this is the first time such an event has been carried out, and it's a great action.
General Saab and also Air Chief, request your indulgence, please, another 5 minutes with us, because we are going to now list out, Brajesh Kumar Singh is with us to list out the 9 targets and why they have been chosen. So we've put this out, Brajesh: Muzaffarabad, Kotli, Gulpur, Bhimbar, Sialkot, Muridke, Bahawalpur and Chakamru. Please. Why?
Let me explain that all these 9 locations, were selected after very careful planning and based upon the very precise intelligence input. Okay. So one by one, I will explain the details about all these 9. For example, we all know that the Bahawalpur facility of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, that is known as the global headquarter of Masood Azhar, Maulana Masood Azhar. It is also known as Markaz-e-Subhanallah. This facility got created in 2015. It has been attacked. Right. Then the second facility, Markaz-e-Taiba. It is part of the Muridke. It's very close to Lahore. It is known as the Lashkar-e-Taiba global headquarter. Mufti Shaheed, Hafiz Shaheed, he operates from this place only. Right. The third place, that is very interesting. The third place is Sarjal. And Sarjal, it's a very unique facility because it runs into a PHC, the primary health center. So how the terrorist organization backed by the ISI and the government of Pakistan, the Pakistan army, they use the health facility, the typical civilian facility. So this facility in Sarjal is a primary health center. It is part of the Tehra Kalan village, and this is again a major training launch pad plus camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed. So this one is the third facility. The fourth is Mahmuna Joya facility. It is in Sialkot. We have already discussed the role of LET and Jaish-e-Mohammed. But this facility, this belongs to Hizbul Mujahideen. So this is HM. So this is Hizbul Mujahideen. Exactly. So the fourth facility, it belongs to Hizbul Mujahideen. The fifth facility, that is known as Markaz-e-Ahle Hadith Barnala in Bhimbar. This facility is again a Lashkar-e-Taiba facility. It is in the POJK and it's a launch pad for all the terrorist activities in Punch, Rajouri, Riyasi sector.
Yeah, because Bhimbar is right on the other side of Punch.
As you know, in last 3 years, there have been several attacks in this area. So this facility is very, very important from the terror angle. So this has been also attacked. The sixth facility is known as Markaz Abbas. It is in Kotli. This facility belongs to Jaish-e-Mohammed. One of the prominent operator of Jaish-e-Mohammed, Hafiz Abdul Sakur. This facility is the base of Sakur. The seventh facility, Maskar Rahil Saeed, it is again in Kotli. This facility belongs to Hizbul Mujahideen. So all 3 terror organizations, Hizbul Mujahideen, Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. So also we talk about last 2 facilities. The Sawal Nala camp, it is in Muzaffarabad. It is precisely on the Muzaffarabad Neelam Road in POJK. It is very important. And why it is so important? If you remember the 26/11 Mumbai attacks, you know the Azmal Kasab. Azmal Kasab, he got his training from this center. So it is very, very important.
He's from Muridke, but he trained here in this
exactly, in Sawal Nala camp, Muzaffarabad. The last facility, that is known as Markaz Sayyidna Bilal. Again, it is in POJK, just bang opposite the Raid Fort in Muzaffarabad. Again, this facility belongs to JEM, Jaish-e-Mohammed. Basically, his operational commander, the agency operational commander, Mufti Asghar Khan, he operates from this facility. So basically, this is attacks, the precise 9 location that is attacked by the Indian armed forces, it is based upon the precise inputs given by the Indian
Now, here is the
intelligence
question.
agencies.
When these targets were selected, Brajesh, the viewers would want to know, were the terror akas, were they occupied by these operational commanders and their cadre? Are the casualties far greater than what the Pakistanis are accepting?
Yes, because as per the inputs given by our intelligence agency, all these facilities are very, very major facilities, where in any normal time, 50 to 5,000 terror operatives, as well as the trainings, the guys who are getting trainings, they are normally camped there. So obviously, it's a huge devastation for as far as the terror infrastructure.
Right. So there you go. So General Pandey, and also to Air Chief and to our viewers, Zaka and Rahul. So very clearly, this has now been explained why these targets were selected, the importance behind these targets, and what in these areas, which precise locations have been targeted, and the reason why they have been targeted. General Pandey.
Yeah. So absolutely, I think the choice or selection of the targets, the mix, but more importantly, they were larger in number. Initially, or even during the surgical strike and this thing, the places where we were hitting were quite close to this thing, which were generally the launch pads. So the numbers were very smaller. They were about at times 4, or in some cases they were about 10 to 12. But these are the places where more than hundreds of people operate. This is the place where the operational commanders or the head of the organizations were operating. And symbolically also, you imagine when they were knowing that some sort of an attack can come, but they could not have vacated it. The moment they would have vacated it, was always a given that they were scared of the retaliation from Indian forces, and possibly they were occupied with the adequate numbers. And I'm not very sure of the intel on whether commanders were in these locations. But
what would you think, General Saab, right after the attack in Pahalgam, would some of the top leadership had been moved out? There was talk that there was movement there. What do you think has happened?
The leadership of the Pakistan military and the terrorist leadership, they're quite akin. So when the time comes of trouble, they will always move out from the respective headquarters and location and hide. And the others, the lower rung, are expendables for them. They don't care how many trainees have been hit, or how many the lower rung terrorist cadre have been, hit or destroyed.
Yeah, but the only difference being, General Saab, that being a visible strike, and this time in Pak Punjab, which is really the epicenter of the military terror network, this would have a salutary effect on Pakistan.
I am actually really salute to the political dispensation and of course the military leadership to have taken the call to hit where it mattered. So I'm actually telling you, I've been there a couple of tenures opposite the same area, somewhere in Rajasthan and all. And I used to always wonder, how are we going to hit? It is so suitably located within the township of Bahalpur. And by the way, Bahalpur is actually one of the southernmost area where even the people are not very happy with the camp, because those are Saraiki people. They are very different people. They speak a different language. And certain degree of unhappiness was always there. This hit is going to actually play out in the psychological mindset as well, to divide the local population, that you don't keep these guys here with us.
All right, General Pandey, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you joining us early on in the morning. It's 6 a.m., a little past 6 a.m. Good morning to all our viewers. In case you're just tuning in to CNN News 18, India has launched Operation Sindoor, in which 9 different terrorist locations and headquarters and launch pads were hit from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as well as in Pakistan proper, deep inside Punjab, including the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur, the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke, and of course the headquarters of the Hizbul Mujahideen. Good time to welcome Captain D.K. Sharma, his former spokesperson of the Indian Navy. Mr. Stephen Golub, international affairs expert, is also joining us. We'll also be joined in a moment by Abhijit Iyer Mitra from the IPCS. But Captain Sharma, let me ask you, the statement that was put out by the Ministry of Defence saying that all 3 tri-services were used, Indian Army, Indian Air Force and Indian Navy. There were loitering munitions that were used. These were all hits from this side of the LOC, from Indian territory. We didn't cross the LOC. What are your thoughts, firstly, this morning on the 7th of May 2025, when India has successfully executed what is now being called Operation Sindoor?
Very good morning, Zaka, and very good morning to all my fellow Indians. A great news is trickling out that India did what we all were waiting for. So, very precisely, our actions, though very patient, have been very focused, measured, and non-escalatory in nature. I'm repeating this word non-escalatory in nature because, as you listed out, all these attacks, the simultaneous attacks which have been carried out presumably by all the three services with various kind of ammunition from various axes and various fronts have only targeted where the terror infrastructure was there, established and targeted now. So, and what I understand that none of the Pakistan military facilities have been targeted because that would have caused escalation. Today, right now, as we are speaking, as the news is coming out, it is all on pointed targets which were, doing all these activities which were hitting us, bleeding us by 1,000 cuts. So, and as the leadership of the country had said, कि चुन चुन के मारेंगे, ये चुन चुन के मारने का एक बहुत बहुत क्लियर जवाब है that it has not been pointed towards the civil population, towards anybody else, but to the people who have been, doing all these nefarious activities. And the latest of the thing which happened on the 22nd April, that is the Pahalgam attack. So a great step taken by us, and let's see now how it pans out. But as it seems now, a simultaneous, saturated, multi-pronged, multi-directional attack has been carried out, and that has been given out by our government also.
All right, Stephen Golub is also there with us. Abhijit Iyer Mitra is also joining us on the broadcast. Stephen Golub, the international ramifications of this. Secretary Marco Rubio has spoken with National Security Advisor Doval. He's also spoken to his Pakistani counterpart. He's put out a tweet about half an hour back saying that he's watching the situation in India and Pakistan very closely and would urge both sides to resolve this quickly and peacefully. What's the big concern right now in Washington?
Oh, the big concern is that this could escalate when you have two nuclear powers, I believe, with 170 or more nuclear weapons between them going at each other. There's a very great concern that things can spin out of control. And sometimes things spin out of control literally in the sense that neither side wants a major escalation, but things happen anyway. Mistakes are made, intentions are misinterpreted, someone lower down in the command chain does something they're not supposed to. So there's a great concern regarding that. What I might add as an additional concern is that as opposed to India's civilian government, you have in Pakistan a military government that not only is military, but that's led by quite an ideological religious zealot, or in effect de facto led by the army chief. And to have that kind of individual who's evinced hostility towards India in recent weeks and months in his statements with his finger on, to be frank, the nuclear trigger, is an additional source of great concern.
All right, Stephen Golub, thank you very much for joining us. Before I come to Abhijit, Arun Danta, my colleague, is joining us live from 7 LKM right outside the Prime Minister's residence. Arun, what's the mood right now there? The Prime Minister, I believe, was fully briefed and watching the Operation Sindoor as it was unfolding. What can you report for us this morning?
Well, that's right, Zaka. Prime Minister Modi was awake for the entire night, and he was monitoring the attack from this place. Right behind me is the 7 LKM, the official residence. That he's still monitoring the situation from inside. In fact, the officials are also inside. He's also in touch with the NSA, Ajit Doval, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Union Home Minister Amit Shah. All of them are in touch with Prime Minister Modi. And in fact, as we've seen in last couple of days, the build-up which was in fact taking place, the rounds of meeting which were taking place here in the country, and also the way, whether it is External Affairs Minister or Prime Minister Modi, they were discussing with the foreign leaders about this. And today, when this thing happened when few areas in Pakistan and also in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir which were attacked by our forces. It is something which is very, very significant, and perhaps in some time from now we will see some sort of movements here at Prime Minister Modi's residence. Cabinet meeting is also plotted to take place today. CCS Cabinet Committee on Security will also take place here at 11 a.m. So very, very significant, day-to-day, a huge attack that happened in.
Well, this is Operation Sindoor. There are many reactions that are coming in from the families, those who lost their loved ones on the 22nd of April, and they are thanking the Indian Armed Forces and Prime Minister Narendra Modi for going ahead and destroying these terror hubs from where this proxy war has been waged against Bharat for many decades by Pakistan, which is a state sponsor of terror. General Sanjay Kulkarni is with us. We also have Abhijit Iyer Mitra. This is precise targeting of all locations that have happened. Captain D.K. Sharma is also with us, and there is a reason why. So there is not just the Jaish headquarters that has been totally destroyed, reduced to rubble. That's what we are given to understand in Bahawalpur. Muridke, again targeted because it's the Lashkar's Markaz. There is Sialkot, where the Hizbul Mujahideen are headquartered. Even in the name of a medical center, they were running a terror camp. That's been targeted to. Muzaffarabad at the Red Fort area and also near the Bilal Mosque area, there are huge terror bases camps where the likes of Ajmal Kasab were trained. That has been reduced to rubble. 9 precise targets have been taken, and the death toll is far greater. The damage caused is far greater than just infrastructural damage. That's what we are given to understand. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, can it be more precise? Can it be more sharp? And can it be more lethal than this? And the Pakistanis currently, the cowards that they are targeting civilians. There are civilian casualties that are happening on our side along the LOC. They are shelling civilian establishments. This is what they will come down to.
So first of all, Anand, we need to understand, we have images coming out of Bahawalpur and Muridke. First, let's understand the psychological impact. In Balakot, they could claim a victory because it was a very remote location and they said we shot down crows. Now with the visuals coming in from Bahawalpur hospital, there's no way they can claim that it was only crows or chickens or whatever we shot down, number one. And for Pakistan, a defeat in private doesn't count as a defeat at all. You have to have a public defeat, a public sort of, humiliation in that sense for it to count. Number one. Number two, what has been happening is you're looking at the hospital visuals. These are all fighting age men. Pakistani Twitter is trying to show that some kid died. That image, we don't know where it's from. We don't know what its provenance is. All the videos that we're looking at clearly show fighting age men with long flowing beards having been badly injured in this strike. What is even more curious is, so far we have seen absolutely no visuals for the other 7 targets. Why is that? Because Pakistani Punjab has declared a state of emergency right now. They've cut off all the phone signals and everything. Now, why do you do that? When you do that, it means you clearly have something to hide. Right? Because especially when things have been struck, people need their mobile phones to call ambulances, to coordinate with relatives, to coordinate finances and things like that for treatment and so on and so forth. You don't cut off, this is like cutting off communications after a tornado has hit or after a hurricane has hit. You don't do it. The only reason you do it is to suppress information. So with the other 7 targets, we really don't know what the extent of the damage is. We'll have some satellites flying over there in the next 2-3 hours. When I manage to get a look at those images, I'll be able to tell you. Third, if you remember on the 5th, my colleague Detresva, he tweeted out images of the exact Bahawalpur seminary that has been targeted.
Yes.
It had training grounds, it had badminton and tennis courts, it had a swimming pool which thankfully had been filled in. Have you ever heard of a mosque and a seminary attached to have a swimming pool attached to it? These things don't happen. This was very clearly a training camp of some sort. That is beyond doubt. Now, I'm sure we're going to hear propaganda stories now about how this was some lots of very pious students. What was the term New York Times used for Osama bin Laden? Pious preacher or something like that. That lots of hundreds of pious preachers have died or whatever. Let's not take that seriously.
Abhijit Ray Mitra, I'm interrupting your flow of thoughts, but we have Sanjay Dwivedi, Shobhan Dwivedi's father, who's joining us. Sanjay ji, namaste, Jai Hind. भारत ने ऑपरेशन सिंदूर रचा है। 9 टारगेट्स हैं जो ध्वस्त हुए हैं पाकिस्तान में, टेरर बेसिस। आप क्या कहेंगे संजय जी? आप क्या कहेंगे? ऑपरेशन सिंदूर भारत ने लॉन्च किया है, टेरर एस्टैब्लिशमेंट्स को ध्वस्त किया है।
मैं इस कार्रवाई के लिए अपने देश की सशक्त सेना और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को बारंबार धन्यवाद देता हूं और सैल्यूट करता हूं अपने देश की सेनाओं को, सशक्त सेनाओं को, जिन्होंने इस तरह के दुष्टों का, राक्षसों का विनाश करने का प्रण लिया है और उसको अंजाम देने का कार्य किया है। मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को बारंबार धन्यवाद देता हूं। देश की 140 करोड़ जनता के दिल की आवाज को सुना माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने। निश्चित तौर पे आज मेरे पुत्र ने जो शहादत दी थी, जो बलिदान दिया था 22 अप्रैल को, निश्चित तौर पे आज उसकी आत्मा को शांति मिल रही होगी। आज मेरा पूरा परिवार रात 2 बजे से लगातार उस जो कष्ट को पिछले 15 दिनों से झेल रहा था, उस कष्ट में निश्चित तौर पे मरहम का काम हुआ है। आज मेरे दिल में बेटे के जाने का गम तो है, लेकिन आज गर्व है मेरे देश के, मेरे प्रधानमंत्री पर, मेरे देश की सशक्त सेनाओं पर, जिन्होंने समय पे जाकर के कार्रवाई की, सटीक कार्रवाई की और आतंकवादियों के समूल नाश के विनाश का काम शुरू कर दिया है।
हिंदू बेटियों का सिंदूर छीनने की जुर्रत की थी उन्होंने, और इस ऑपरेशन को सिंदूर कहा गया है।
आवाज नहीं आ रही सर।
संजय जी, हिंदू बेटियों का सिंदूर छीनने की हिम्मत की थी उन्होंने। 26 पुरुषों को चुन चुनकर मारा था। आज इस ऑपरेशन का नाम ऑपरेशन सिंदूर रखा है। क्या सिंदूर की लाज रखी है हमारी सेना ने?
जो मेरी बहू का सिंदूर, जो माथे का सिंदूर छीना था 22 अप्रैल को, बहुत ही अच्छा निर्णय लिया है। इस ऑपरेशन का नाम ऑपरेशन सिंदूर रख करके उन शहीद हुए मेरे पुत्र के साथ शहीद हुए देश के विभिन्न भागों के उन 27 वीरों का, बलिदानियों की, धर्मपत्नियों के सुहाग की जो कीमत थी, उसको सुहाग की रक्षा का जो सुहाग छीना गया था, उसके लिए जो प्रतिशोध लिया है माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, माननीय हमारे देश के गृह मंत्री जी, माननीय रक्षा मंत्री जी, मैं सबको बारंबार धन्यवाद देता हूं और देश की सशस्त्र सेनाओं के अदम्य साहस और वीरता के लिए मैं उनको बारंबार सैल्यूट करता हूं।
इतना काफी है कि और भी सबक सिखाना जरूरी है संजय जी।
जी। अभी आतंकवाद पे जो कार्रवाई शुरू हुई है, ये इसका शुरुआत है। हम ये चाहते हैं, पूरा देश ये चाहता है कि अब आतंकवाद का माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी समूल विनाश करें। अगर अब भी कुछ कमी रही हो तो निश्चित तौर पे उसको इससे भी बड़ी कार्रवाई करके उसका समूल विनाश करें।
संजय जी, धन्यवाद हमसे बात करने के लिए। जय हिंद।
थैंक यू।
So that's the sentiment of a father.
Mr. Iyer Mitra, if he's there. Mr. Mitra, first of all, good morning. This is what we were working up to. The fact of the matter is you were there last night on our show. We weren't expecting perhaps a strike this early in the day, but we hadn't ruled out the possibility. How do you assess what has transpired over the last 7 hours? How do you assess it? Is this going to enforce deterrence? This is something that you've been talking about. And do you think that this is the first of many steps? It's the first of a phase?
I think this is the beginning of a series of strikes. We have to understand Pakistan has its security cabinet meeting at 10 a.m. They'll decide what course of action they want to go about after that. Depending on how much they want to escalate it, let's see where it goes. I think the reports coming out of Pakistan right now claiming that they've shot down 5 fighter jets may be a face-saving device. They claim that they've shot down 5 Therefore, it's a big hurrah. If you remember in Balakot, they actually did shoot down one of our fighters, and they claimed to have launched missiles just to warn us. They claimed they launched expensive Brazilian missiles which never exploded on target as a warning to us, and they claimed victory. And if you go to the Wikipedia page on Balakot, it actually makes it seem that Balakot happened in a vacuum. It had no connection to Pulwama and Pakistan. Nothing was hit at Balakot, and only India suffered casualties. But it gave us a 6-year breathing period, 5 to 6 year breathing period, if you count the Riyasi attack as well last year, of deterrence. Now, deterrence doesn't mean that, small 1-2 people killed. It's the big attacks that it deters, because 1-2 people killed attacks are, they're targets of opportunity decided at a local level. It is the big attacks which the orders come cross-border, and that is what you're out to deter.
Abhijit Iyer Mitra and General Kulkarni and Captain Sharma. We'll try and go to Captain Sharma.
Wants to make a point.
Yes, sir.
Patience was running out, but solid, saturated, multi-pronged, coordinated precision strikes have happened over the last 3 hours, and I'm sure they are going to continue.
Well, I'm not sure he's speaking with us right now. I think I don't think he is with us. We'll try and just connect that and see if he's speaking with us directly. He was looking elsewhere, so I'm not sure. So we'll just confirm that. But General Kulkarni, Rahul and Zaka and to Abhijit Iyer Mitra, the fact is, ये Pakistani है, ये पलट कर आते हैं. They come back. Time लेके आते हैं, but they come back. 6 years is not deterrence enough, because when they come back, they hurt again. And so what is it that we are going to do so that they never dare to do this again?
No, General Kulkarni, I think, the question that everyone wants to ask is twofold. Obviously, look, this is not going to be the end of terrorism. I don't think this as a deterrent thing, which Rahul was talking about. After Pulwama, we thought there will be deterrence. After Balakot, we thought there will be deterrence.
Yeah, that's what
it happens after a bunch of years. The most pressing and most immediate question is, what is the thinking right now in GHQ in Rawalpindi? What is the thinking of Asim Munir? He has articulated his very vile and visceral thoughts about Hindus and Muslims and jugular vein and so on and so forth. This is a direct hit at his authority, the authority of the Pakistan army. So how does India prepare? A, will there be a retaliation? And B, how does India prepare for that retaliation? How does India respond to that retaliation?
See, Zaka, what really now at this point of time, we have noticed that however much all of this has been war game, we know exactly what we would have done and how Pakistan will retaliate. There is no denying the fact. That is why, to begin with, in the escalation ladder, only the terrorist camps have been hit. There's 9 of them. Of course, most of them are in POK, but one of it in Bahawalpur is in Punjab. That's where the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters are. So, indicative. Now maybe another half an hour to 1 hour, we'll really exactly know the damage caused. Maybe 24, 30, 40, 50, 100 people would have died. And though it was absolute total secrecy, I think it was beautifully managed, very well executed, for a very simple reason, that you had the mock exercises being given to understand in India at this point of time that today, the 7th of May, there will be mock exercises. You had the Raksha Mantri say...
General Saab, there was secrecy, and one has to hand it to the Indian government that there was secrecy. But I have to ask you, there was anticipation also. We knew, because the Prime Minister had laid it down and the parameters he had defined very narrowly. Why was Pakistan caught so flat-footed? Or indeed, have they been caught flat-footed, or it is just our genius that we have been able to penetrate that? I don't know. Maybe their systems are very...
If they're caught flat-footed, frankly, if they're caught flat-footed like this every time, perhaps they should be caught like this every time.
I'm very interested to know, how is it that these people who claim to be such a professional, such a powerful army, have been blown out of the water pretty much in main Punjab?
Yeah, they may be strong, but we are more powerful, we are more stronger, we are better.
What happened, you would have noticed, Pakistan was expecting the retaliation, or otherwise, their chief, the jihadi, I would call him Hafiz Munir, would not have dispatched his family. Most of the people had over there, the generals have dispatched their families abroad, number one. Number two, aware of what the civil administration might just do, he appointed his DG ISI as the NSA to know exactly what the Prime Minister of theirs is thinking, and they should not, take some decision which might just go against the army. So everyone, he had full control. He knew, and he has prepared himself I hope some good sense prevails, because he now knows. Probably he may have thought India may not retaliate. India might just say something and we don't do. But he knew that India will retaliate. He had seen the leadership in India, and he knows the strong leadership in India is bound to come very, very hard, because that's what we did after Uri, that's what we did after Pulwama. But, well, Pakistan didn't seem to understand that here also it will be done. But definitely,
the symbolism, Anand, the symbolism of targeting close to Lahore in Bahawalpur, Mr. Iyer Mitra, this is important. This is an important visible action that India has taken beyond POK.
Look, it's Balakot was also beyond POK. That precedent was set in Balakot itself that we will not restrict ourselves to POK. The majority of targets are in POK, yes, but there have been significant targets outside POK, because, you know, there is this sort of equivalence in the Pakistani mind that, you know, in the 1960s war, they only attacked in Kashmir, and India declared the war because we attacked across the international border. Somehow this, you know, they've tried to reinforce this narrative that Kashmir actions should be restricted to Kashmir and should not go outside of Kashmir. Now, this is ludicrous. We have broken that. We had for a long time accepted that principle. We have broken that with Balakot, and this time it's been very, very significantly reinforced just because of the scale and nature of the attacks that have taken place outside of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
No, but also the fact that Punjab has been hit. I mean, Murid K is barely 30 kilometers from Lahore. No. And you know this. I mean, hitting Punjab is like hitting at the heart of Pakistan.
No, it's not just hitting at the heart of Pakistan, it's hitting at the heart of the Pakistan army. We all know what headquarters are there in Murid K exactly. So, you know, it's also saying that, you know, well, we just hit about a kilometer.
If he can hit you, if he can hit these terror headquarters, we can hit the air bases, and we can hit the military installations, and we have chosen not to. That's the message the Indian Armed Forces are giving. Bahawalpur has an air base.
Yeah, it's actually much more than that, because you're hitting the political power center of both the army and the Sharif family.
Yeah,
you know, that is a humiliation that they can't live down.
So 10 a.m. there is going to be a press briefing. So here on CNN News 18, it's continuous coverage. We are live with the coverage, with the updates. 10 a.m. is the official media briefing at the National Media Center. We've just got confirmation. National Media Center, that's where there will be a press briefing on Operation Sindoor.
Do we know who's going to be leading that?
We don't know who's going to come to brief.
So if you go back to the surgical strikes, at that time I think it was the head of the Northern Command. Yeah. Then I think the DGMO.
General Huda, I think.
Yeah, I think General Huda had come out first.
Yeah, but it's been sent out by the army. It's been sent out by the army PRO and PRO army. That's where they are the ones who sent out. So we'll see if it's a military briefing or not.
It likely would be. Yeah.
And this time around, General Kulkarni, it said it's a collective armed forces. It's not said that it was only the Air Force that did it, or the army that did it, or the Navy that did it. It's a collective Air Force, corrected armed forces strike. My question is also, if the Pakistanis decide to respond, they may immediately respond, or they may respond in a different manner, in a non-state act manner also. So how do we measure our calibration? Is this message very clear that any act of terror on our soil now will be a punitive cost on Pakistanis? Secondly, if you escalate, we will go escalate further.
Pakistan will retaliate, but Pakistan knows the after effect of retaliation, and that is what is most important. Pakistan realizes it, that attack on the Indian soil, because Indians don't have any terrorist camp. Since we have no terrorist camp, the attack is going to be in the Indian soil, whereas we have only hit the terrorist target. So Pakistan knows what India is doing. Now, should Pakistan retaliate in a haphazard manner, knowing fully well, let's see what happens. We are ruined, we'll lose. But at this point of time, I don't think, because Pakistan knows fully well that India is prepared. For the last 12, 13 days, India was preparing for it. India has now retaliated, and any further, I would say, retaliation by Pakistan might lead to Pakistan getting into trouble. Because Balochistan ex-chief minister has been talking rather ill about Pakistan, and very clearly stated that, look, and he has also told them, don't forget, You've had 93,000 PWs in 71
But that was in 71, sir. After that, the messaging has not cost them. The messaging from the Indian response or the Bharatiya response has not cost them. It's not cost Pakistan acreage, nor has it cost them personnel, loss of face. Captain Sharma, agree, disagree? And is this messaging enough, or has this got to be harder?
Just, Zakar, this is just the starting. Oh, sorry, Anand.
Yeah.
This is just the starting of the whole thing, which was, waiting for something like this to happen. And it has happened at the right time, as decided by all the three chiefs and the top leadership of the nation. Very precise attacks, very potent attacks. And let's see now, what is the next step of Pakistan? As General Kulkarni is saying, there will be some retaliation, but we are prepared for it. It is a multi-pronged attack. Everybody is at standby. So there is nothing to worry, because anything now coming out from there will have
But
a
Captain,
kind of...
when you say that there is going to be a retaliation, I'm sure people in the Indian military establishment have done a bit of a game theoretical analysis.
Rahul, every action of theirs has already been, I'm very sure about it, it has been simulated, and we know what is our reaction to it. So just don't worry about it. Every step of the escalation ladder has been well thought out, and who will address it? Which part of the Indian Armed Forces will address it? In what manner and with what kind of might? All this has been done.
They don't deter, Abhijit Iyer Mitra and Captain Sharma and General Kulkarni, they don't deter from attacking civilians. If you look at the pounding around the LOC, it shows that they are capable of the most vile act. And if we look at Pahalgam, they are okay with that. That was also celebrated somewhere. So if they end up doing something foolhardy like that, that they target a civilian establishment or a military establishment, then the graded response, how does it change? And does that
Anand,
give us a toehold or a reason to perhaps charge them acreage? I hope you understand what I'm saying.
We are now going towards the routes from where the launch pads are. You are talking about they will attack on the civilian areas. They can do whatever, foolish activities they want to do. But here our focus is very clear. We are going, as the Prime Minister said, we will go to the root of the problem. So now we are attacking from where the artillery is kept, or where the missile launching pads are kept, and where all this activity was taking, it was starting from there. It was finally looking for a target across the border this side. But now when all our forces have got all the targets and coordinates in position, and we have decided that we are ready, and the kind of attack which has been carried out within a matter of seconds and minutes from various directions, this is going to baffle them. This is going to, really...
One other factor which I think is important in whatever response Pakistan may choose is in 2 days' time, on Friday, they have this all-important meeting with the IMF in Washington, where I think it's $1 billion tranche of the $7.5 billion that was approved as the bailout package. That is due. So if they choose to attack or retaliate in the next 48 hours, that will have down the line implications as well for Pakistan. But I do want to say a couple of things. I don't think the Pakistan army, if it chooses to retaliate, and I think the messaging from the Indian armed forces, even from the very first statement that was put out by the ADGPI, was that, look, we're not targeting military installations. This is non-escalatory in nature, and we're only targeting the terror infrastructure. So basically, a signaling has gone to the Pakistan military that, look, we're not hitting your military installations, and we do not want you to escalate. Of course, Pakistan and the Pakistan army will have to decide what they have to and how they have to respond. The second thing, and the important thing, is the conversations, the first set of conversations that have happened are between the National Security Advisor of India and his counterpart, the acting counterpart now, Mr. Rubio, who's also the Secretary of State. And immediately after that, Mr. Rubio has spoken to the NSA of Pakistan, the NSA who also happens to be the DGISI. And he has clearly said, we don't wish both parties to escalate. We want a quick resolution to this. So really, the stakes are very, very high for Pakistan if they choose to respond to this.
I agree with you. Obviously, this is something that the Pakistani leadership will have to balance. But I want to bring in Iyer Mitra on this. There'll be expectations now, and we're already seeing a large number of videos coming out of Pakistan where people are asking, "Tum kya so rahe the?" And they were asking the Pakistani army. So there's a meltdown happening in Pakistan. The Pakistani army wants to save face. There are a couple of things now that I want to bring to your attention. Number one, given that the political imperatives, can Munir, who has talked himself into, jihadi A plus. Can he now sit quiet? One. Two, how much leverage does Washington actually have on Pakistan, given the fact that Pakistan has moved very closely and quickly into the Chinese arc, and the Chinese actually haven't responded?
Yeah.
And this I find quite strange. Something is happening in their backyard. Chinese are completely silent.
So, to answer the first part of the question, remember, we've had reports since Pahalgam happened. We've had a lot of indications that there is discontent among the corps commanders. Some of the things Pakistani broadcasters and major personalities have been saying against Asim Munir, they wouldn't have the guts to say that unless they had the protection of some corps commander happening out there.
Right.
The most common refrain I'm hearing right now is, where has Asim Munir been for the last 10 days? He was actively promoting that ludicrous speech of his on Twitter, where everybody was saying Asim Munir hits it out of the park, whatnot, etc., etc. Where has he been? He's been completely missing in action, no photos of him or anything. And again, we see there is a very systematic attempt from Pakistani Twitter to ask those questions. How far it will go, I don't know. How far will the corps commanders take it? I don't know. To answer the second part of your question, Rahul, sorry, if you can just remind me again, I lost.
China.
The second part is the China angle and the lack of, or perhaps, I don't know, Washington's influence.
This is actually, something we've seen for the last 3 years. Chinese support to Pakistan. First, China doesn't do allies. America does allies. China does free radicals. They use North Korea to bog down East Asia. They use Laos, even though it doesn't have nuclear weapons or any military really. They use Laos to, sow discontent within ASEAN. They use Pakistan to bog down India. These are the kind of, malignant free radicals they like. Now, what ends up happening out here is the deal is always based on the fact that you can actually hold down the regional competitor. Pakistan used to get very good deals as long as it was running a two-track insurgency, one in Punjab, one in Kashmir. Once the Punjab insurgency ended, it could still get discounts claiming a Kashmir insurgency. Now we know the Kashmir insurgency is over. And if you notice, for the last 9 years, Rahul, since I've been appearing on your programs, you remember I've been talking about Chinese internal documents, actually local publications, which keep saying, how Pakistan's military and feudal system has gone out of its way to sabotage the Pakistan-China economic corridor. They were still willing to tolerate it. They were still willing to tolerate Uyghur terrorists being found in Pakistani terror camps and things like that. What they are not willing to tolerate now is all the same things happening when Pakistan is not bringing any insurgency on the table that's able to keep India off balance. That is the main reason China is not really being as supportive, because Pakistan is no longer an asset. As for Washington, Washington can wield influence. The question is, do they want to wield influence? It's the same way we can wield a lot of influence on Russia. We really want to use that influence for something like Ukraine, which is totally peripheral to us.
But has Bharat been very smart about it again this time? Because 10:22 p.m. last evening, President Trump confirms that India has removed all tariffs on US goods. So there has been a big offtake there. So there is a whole of government strategic maneuver with key parties who are integral to whatever Bharat was planning, and that's happened.
No,
but
I just want to add to the US
Yeah.
question. I mean, look, Trump, I think to be fair to him, has been very, very clear. He is an anti-war president. He has never, in fact, he's said very proudly on the campaign trail that in his first term, not a single war started. And he also made it a big campaign agenda point that he wants to end the Russia-Ukraine war. He said famously he'll end it in 24 hours and so on, but that hasn't happened. He also wants to put an end to the Israel-Gaza war as well. But here's the thing. The incentive or the leverage that Washington had 5 or 6 years ago, let's say, for example, when Balakot happened, because Washington was very much invested in Afghanistan, very much invested in this region, they had leverage over Pakistan. Today, that is significantly decreased. So it really boils down to what the Pakistani military
Trump's
leadership
point of view
wants to do.
Even in Trump point 1, Trump 1.2, Trump was very clear about what he thought about Pakistan. And the billions of dollars that had been given by the US to Pakistan. So clearly those monies were not coming. They only have 40% of operational capacity of their fleet, which is all US airplanes. A lot of their guns and machinery they need servicing, and that all spare parts have to come from So there are different ways that Pakistani response, military response
In
can
fact,
be choked
Anand,
by a
in February,
friendly ally
Trump-
or a friendly nation, and
No,
that
no,
in
one
this
second.
case the
In
US.
February, Trump had actually lifted the sanctions and had said that we are going to give you parts, etc., as well as monies to maintain your F-16s,
Yeah.
as long as you don't use them against India.
Correct. So
I
the
mean,
condition
I'm
itself, see now
sorry.
the Saudis have parked $9 billion
I mean,
in
did
their
you see
reserves,
the
but you
president's
can't touch
statement
that money.
I mean, did you see the president's statement?
Yeah, the Americans
He's
have
talking
said-
about some historic fight that goes back 2,000 years and
So
centuries.
he's talked about the time
is he
of
talking
invasion
about?
and all of that. They're clearly not involved. And here they said, see, Bangladesh and Pakistan, he's left it to Modi to handle. So
Yeah.
if the Americans are given that. But I'm just going to go back to what Abhijit Iyer Mitra very interestingly pointed out has immediately happened post these strikes by Bharat in Pakistan. All of Punjab has gone into a blackout area.
It's
in the
an
Pak-occupied
emergency.
Punjab, the Pak region, the Punjab region in Pakistan has been blanked out in terms of communication services, airspace band, sab kuch band. Why is it? And there is only visuals, details that have come from Bahawalpur and also Muridke. The rest of the regions, what has happened is been totally blacked out. Even in Pakistani media, they don't have enough of information except for the claims made by the DGISPR as far as their press conference was concerned. Now, would you attach reason behind that there is a deliberate attempt to try and blank out because the damage is so heavy? And if those details were to surface, it will be far more embarrassing for the Pakistanis because these are all the terror hideouts, the terror tanzeems, and perhaps there is a huge loss.
So this is a very interesting visual. By the way, I'd heard this visual as I was coming in tonight, this morning. And these are individuals sitting in a car and they're having a chat and they're talking some...
And there you go, right in front of them on the camera.
They're talking some lurid stuff and suddenly they say, oh beta, ye kya ho gaya? Oh boy.
We can hear the audio.
Yeah, the audio is a bit risky. Risky. It's a bit risky.
Cool. That's what they said. Cool, and the video catch ho gayi.
So,
and then they don't even know what's happened. But look at that precise moment when the strike has happened. They don't even realize what's happened, but there is a huge strike and there is an explosion and this is somewhere in Bahawalpur. See, they are saying video catch ho gayi.
I mean, they think it's actually, I think it's now dawning on Pakistan because I'm seeing a lot of reactions on Pakistani social media handles where they're abusing their leadership, and that's the reason I asked that question. Because they're all saying, tum to soye hoye ho. When are you going to wake up?
This pressure can
India has walked straight into Punjab.
Can push them into
we were
doing
in
something
Bahawalpur.
quite foolhardy. Push them into doing something very foolhardy. I just want to go back and try and let's revisit where all they have targeted, and there is some very specific information that we've got. I'm just going to read that out as we're getting it. Why these regions have been targeted, these locations have been targeted. Let's try and understand this, viewers. So there are 9 locations in all, starting with Muzaffarabad. This is in POK. Now, in Muzaffarabad, there are 2 locations that have been targeted. In Muzaffarabad, the 2 locations that have been targeted is the Shawai Nala. If I can write this, let me just do this. So, it is the Shawai Nala. So, this is Shawai Nala here in Muzaffarabad. And there is also the Red Fort area. So, that is Markaz Sayyidna Bilal. So, Markaz Bilal. So, Markaz Bilal is another area which has been targeted. Markaz Bilal. So, which the Pakistani media or Pakistani ISI claimed that it is the Bilal Mosque. No, this is the Markaz Bilal, this region, which are 2 terror training camps in Muzaffarabad that have been targeted. Let's understand Markaz-e-Taiba. So, Zaka was saying this is the Lashkar's headquarters. So, Markaz-Taiba. So, this is what LET's headquarters. This has been targeted. This is the LET HQ.
Wow.
So, this has been targeted in Muridke very clearly. This is the Muridke one. Bahawalpur, there are two locations. So, Bahawalpur, there is Markaz Subhanallah. So, this is Markaz Subhanallah is again the Jaish HQ. So, this is JEM HQ. Totally destroyed. So, this has been targeted. And then there is Markaz, and then in... there is in Chak Amru, this is this area called Serjal. So in Serjal, there is actually a health center which is a training camp. So that's been targeted. Then in Sialkot, this is Sialkot. in Sialkot, you have Mehmoon Joya. Now, Mehmoon Joya is the HM, Hizbul Mujahideen headquarters.
So you're saying
so
the
Mehmoon
Lashkar,
Joya
the Jaish and
Hizbul, all three have been targeted. Then you have in Bhimbar. Now this Bhimbar Gully, remember we always talked about this Bhimbar Gully and this area.
Yeah.
So here in Bhimbar, you have this area which is called Markaz Ahle-Hadith.
Oh, so the
So,
Ahle-Hadith-
so Markaz Ahle-Hadith, again Jaish.
Yes.
So Markaz Ahle-Hadith is again, so you have the JEM being targeted, JEM operations here. Then there is Markaz Abbas in Kotli. So this is Markaz Abbas in Kotli.
So you're saying
So
that the
all of these
backbone
are terror camps. Now
of
this
the jihadi infrastructure has been hit out of the water today.
Correct. And here, this one, the Muzaffarabad Shahi Nalla camp. Now, the Shawai Nalla camp, this is where this guy, Ajmal Kasab, had trained.
I see.
Ajmal Kasab had trained here. This camp in Muzaffarabad, he hails from Muridke and he trained in Muzaffarabad. So there is also the Markaz Rahil Sharif. So there are two locations here in Kotli. There is one more. This is Markaz Rahil. This is Markaz Rahil Shahid. This is also in Kotli. So this is how these locations have been targeted. All have significance. There is the Jaish operations in Bahawalpur and in Kotli. Gulpur also. This is one of these is being clubbed with Kotli, but this one of these camps is in Gulpur. Chakamru comes with the Sherjal.
Kilometers from Lahore.
All these camps.
Muridke, 30 kilometers from
Muridke is
Lahore,
30 kilometers from Lahore.
which is really the citadel of Punjab.
Absolutely.
Pakistan, Punjab, that is.
I mean, the last time there was a direct hit in Punjab was
Yes.
actually in the 1965 war.
Exactly.
So this is something that hasn't happened in the last 50
it
years.
hasn't. It has
If you drive from Lahore downwards towards Faisalabad and then you go down, in this region is where Muridke comes.
That's right.
And when we passed, in my previous avatar as a sports journalist, I've gone to Pakistan. And when we passed that, we were actually pointed out and said, "Ye Lashkar ka headquarter hai." So at that time in 2007, they used to openly flaunt that this is the Lashkar headquarters. Bahawalpur, where these two camps are, 5 kilometers from here is the airbase.
But just think of this.
So just 5
Anand,
kilometers from here is
I
the
have to
Bahawalpur
ask you this
airbase.
question. Just think of this. Today, Hafiz Saeed is sitting in his little launch pad, having his chai this morning. And he knows that he's in the crosshair too. Imagine the psychological impact of the Dawood Ibrahim, who has been probably eating his biscuit this morning, will also be saying that, okay, I'm probably next. I hope we behave ourselves. This is what the message is.
But my point is, frankly, I'm moving across here, but Zaka and Rahul, as we go across back to our guests, Hafiz Saeed and Dawood Ibrahim are no longer the operational heads. They are just figureheads. What we need as a nation and our armed forces need to target are the operational commanders.
True.
Hafiz's brother Talha
degrade
Saeed,
that, but
Rauf
from
Asghar,
a-
some
from
of the
a-
others who we have named here on the channel, these are the people who are present at these training camps who are radicalizing minds and training.
No, but we are
Along
not
with them are these
discounting.
mullahs who are so radicalized.
No,
those
but even
who are the
Osama
ones who are
bin Laden-
brainwashing
but
them.
hang on,
Ji.
even Osama bin Laden, by 2010, 2011, 2010, had become a completely sort of, disconnected, discombobulated figure from the
Zawahiri
Al-Qaeda.
was leading the Al-Qaeda at that
But the symbolism
Of course.
of nailing him is very, very important. So let's not forget
look,
that.
I think these are very, very targeted precision strikes.
Yeah.
The message is very clear from the Indian military establishment and the political establishment. The three terrorist organizations that have been a thorn in India's flesh for the last 30 years, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Hizbul Mujahideen, their headquarters has today been hit. And I think it's an unambiguous message from the Indian establishment that these are the three organizations that have really been responsible for a majority, more than 90% of the terror acts that have happened in India, whether it's in Kashmir, whether it's in mainland India from 26/11 to Uri, Pulwama, and the latest, of course, in Pahalgam. But at the same time, if you were to look at the statement put out by every official in the government of India, from the army, PRO to the Ministry of Defense spokesperson, it's very clear three things. Number one, this is non-escalatory in nature. India does not wish to pursue the escalation ladder if Pakistan does not retaliate. Number two, all of these hits happen from inside Indian territory. The LOC was not crossed, the international border was not crossed. And the third and most important thing, these were simply terror launch pads or terror infrastructure. No military installation has been hit,
this
and that's a
puts
signal.
Pakistan in a huge bind,
Yes.
because look, we've targeted legitimate targets that are non-state actors, and I'm not using Indian government language, I'm using Pakistani government language. They say these are non-state actors, they're out of our control, etc., etc. Where does Pakistan hit?
Well, look,
I mean, it can't.
If
it hits the military establishment in India, that's a declaration of war.
Yeah.
I'm talking very legalistically
Yeah.
speaking now.
Yeah.
It's a declaration of war. Defense Minister, I think the Defense Minister has put out a statement, or maybe he's speaking to all the three chiefs, perhaps congratulating them on the success of this. Big breaking news coming in. Rajnath Singh, who had said just a few days ago that our action will be what you desire, that is the public of India desires, today speaking to all the three service chiefs. He has also been extremely involved in all the planning that has gone on. I'm not just saying it because, obviously that would be because he is a defense minister, but in the past we have seen a large number of people, Anand, saying that everything is dictated by one part of the establishment and not the others, etc. But this time it's been a very concerted
the 10 a.m.
effort.
presser, Rahul, is going to be forces and the MEA.
There you go.
So it's a whole of government approach that we are seeing.
Yes.
Payal Mehta is with us. Yes, Payal. So Rajnath Singh ji has spoken to the three service chiefs. The press conference will be a combined press conference with all the forces and also the MEA together. So a whole of government approach on Operation Sindoor is being witnessed.
It has been a whole of government approach from day one, hasn't it, Anand? The way in which the Prime Minister met the leadership, first at the CCS, that's where the ball really started rolling, after which his individual meeting with service chiefs, his meeting with all of them, with Rajnath Singh, that message coming in clear and loud that, you decide which is the place you want to target, what is the time you want to really target. And I'm currently at the official residence of the Prime Minister. All action from 10 o'clock onwards will be moving here, because 11 o'clock you'll have the all-important CCS meeting which will take place, followed by the Union Cabinet. And of course, it's going to be a very, very confident cabinet, especially the alliance partners who are in the Modi government for the first time. And they would have seen his decisive leadership from very, very close quarters now. So obviously, all the development will be here. But yes, a whole of government approach. What is India's, story behind the strikes that we've really done? The fact that we are only targeting...
Has anybody?
Just one very quick question. In the run-up to this particular event this morning, the Prime Minister has never named Pakistan. Now that was obviously a deliberate, very clearly deliberate choice of words that he has used in the last 14 days. Can you build on that a little bit, because it assumes significance? Because whatever the Pakistanis are going to respond to now will, from India's point of view, be, if they're going to strike on India in any capacity, they will be breaking international law, because the Prime Minister was extremely measured.
Well, that's typical Narendra Modi style. Rahul, in the past also, when he's spoken about China, he has never named China, he's never named Pakistan in any of his comments as well. In fact, last night when he was speaking at a private channel summit, even then he said, हमारा पानी किसी और देश में जाता था, अब हमारा पानी सिर्फ हमारे देश में रहेगा और हमारे लोगों के लिए रहेगा. He has chosen not to name these enemy nations at all. And I don't remember, in the distinct memory that I have covered his government for the last decade plus, has he ever named any nation, which also includes the likes of China. It's a typical Narendra Modi style of telling people where they really belong, to give them the kind of respect that in terms of where they really belong. That's been Modi's trademark style, if I'm not wrong.
But are we expecting any of the netas to come before the CCS? Any reaction, any movement at the PMO right now at 7 LKM?
Well, it's lesser than 7 o'clock right now. No movement as such that we can witness over outside the local and marked residence. But the whole of government will be here at 11 o'clock, Anand.
Right.
All the cabinet ministers will be here as well. The CCS leaders will be there. We have to just wait and see if the service chiefs are called to the CCS meeting to brief the Prime Minister in person. Those visuals are going to be extremely significant. Those are going to be extremely important. Those are going to be extremely satisfactory for the people of the country to see what our service chiefs have really been able to achieve, what our forces have been able to achieve.
And very important, Anand, there is a PIB fact check that has been put out. This is very, very
that has
crucial.
already been.
If I can just hold this up to the camera, and it says the claim that Indian brigade headquarters have been attacked by Pakistan is a complete fake news. So a large number of Pakistani handles have been putting out this kind of rot since the morning. In fact, since about 2 in the morning, they've been talking about how an Indian aircraft was downed, a fighter aircraft. It turned out to be some very old incident. And there have been other claims by Pakistan about attacks in Srinagar, etc., etc. All of this is fake news. So please make sure, and I'm appealing to all our fellow Indian citizens, our patriotic Indians, please make sure that you don't fall to this Pakistani propaganda. This is absolute Pakistani propaganda, unmitigated propaganda.
We should have more of this because there are three pieces of fake news that have already been called out. One is that Pakistan is claiming 15 locations hit inside Bharat by missiles as retaliatory strikes by Pakistan. It's fake news. A Rafale jet or 2 Rafales were brought down, again fake news. Srinagar Air Base has been struck, again fake news. And right now, like the PIB has also confirmed this, brigade headquarters of the Indian Army again destroyed or attacked or bombed by the Pakistani forces, again fake news.
In fact, the news was spread by Pakistan Information Minister Ataullah Tarar.
They are actually masters at misinformation. So
disinformation, actually.
Disinformation.
It's not just misinformation. This is disinformation.
Disinformation. Let's just quickly go to Akash. Akash, the Raksha Mantri has spoken with the 3 service chiefs.
Yes, Anand, we are learning that 3 service chiefs have briefed Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh about the operation as to how it was conducted and, what was the kind of success that they have received. In fact, Raksha Mantri Singh was briefed about the sort of, platforms, in fact, all of what was used. And in fact, the assessment that they are going to come up with at 10 a.m. today in the press conference, Raksha Mantri has been briefed about it. And also, Anand, as far as, you were discussing about the brigade headquarters. I have checked all the brigade headquarters and, I have got several inputs, credible inputs. None of the brigade headquarters has been attacked by Pakistan, and it is confirmed all the structures of Indian Army are safe. All the structures of Indian Air Force here in Jammu and Kashmir are safe, Anand.
Right. So no military establishments, installments have been affected or touched by the Pakistani military or the Pakistani forces, nor have anything material been done, damaged been done to any of our resources or arsenal. So clearly all fake news, fake propaganda in perhaps a certain level of retaliation because they were caught napping. Aman Sharma now joining us with how it was the Pakistanis were caught napping with Operation Sindoor. Many would have thought कि mock drills आज हो रहा है तो 7 तारीख की रात या 8 तारीख को कुछ करेंगे. And it all happened on 6 तारीख की रात and 7th morning. And that's where the Pakistanis got caught unawares, Aman. And the significance of this operation being called Operation Sindoor and it being approved at the highest level.
Absolutely, Anand. The Pakistanis have been completely blindsided, and this again speaks of, the Modi-led government acting with complete precision, stealth, and the element of surprise. This whole announcement about the mock drill, which was to happen today, it came, yesterday, in fact, the day before night, and entire media was full of mock drill stories, yesterday. And it seems that Pakistan also assumed that India is preparing for this mock drill, which will happen today, and the strike will only happen later. One of their ambassadors, in fact, former ambassador Abdul Basit had tweeted that maybe this will happen after the Russia Victory Day parade. India surprising everybody. And now it's very, very clear that India had always planned today morning to be the time because PM Modi had given the operational freedom to all the 3 forces. And when the 3 chiefs had met the PM separately last week, we are told now by reliable sources that the options were already put on the table, that how these strikes are going to be done. So completely blindsiding Pakistan. Its defenses were low. It was casual. It thought India is going to come only after 2-3 days. But no, India has struck when it wanted to strike. Also, this information that we're getting that Operation Sindoor, this particular name was approved at the top level. There is a lot of emotional, messaging also behind this name because the Prime Minister and the other senior ministers in the government were very, very clear that this was a deliberate, targeted attack. The women victims who were left, unharmed in a way, but they were told that, go and tell Modi. It was a thing that, Sindur of Hindu women had been wiped off by these terrorists, by specifically targeting the men, the husbands, the fathers. This is what India, and that's why the code name of the operation was named like that. There was a message behind that as well, Anand. But India taking Pakistan completely by surprise, and some voices in Pakistan, Anand, are now asking the Pakistan government that how could this happen and how could this strike happen? What were our defenses doing? Pakistan had made tall claims of mobilizing forces on its borders in the last 10 days. But when the strike ultimately happened, India has acted with complete stealth and caught Pakistan completely unawares. Anand.
Important points that you're making, and I appreciate the facts that you are putting out here, because yes, there is a deep symbolism behind the name of the Operation Sindoor. But I just wanted to ask you, because we've just had statements come out of Ajay Rai, a person who was taunting, a Congress leader who was taunting our forces for not doing very much, and the Modi government also for sort of sitting on their hands. That's what he implied. Now he's come out to say, I congratulate the Modi government, I congratulate our forces, etc., etc. How many of the opposition leaders have actually spoken up? Because they were bitter critics of the Prime Minister, even putting out posters like Gab. I don't want to make this political, but it's an interesting thing that I wanted to understand from you, since you follow politics so very closely.
Well, Rahul, yes, if there was one egg on the face moment, it is Ajay Rai's moment. Just 2 days back, he was mocking our Air Force, mocking our Rafale jets, saying that there is still Nimbu Mirchi on those jets, and when are we going to use them against Pakistan? Well, Mr. Modi has shown, such operations, Rahul, are tactical operations, as I said, with stealth and the element of surprise. Sometimes the planning takes time. After Uri, we had acted within 11 days. After Pulwama, we acted on Balakot within 12 days. Now we've struck within 14 days. So within a fortnight, this big strike has happened. And we have to also understand that the nature of this strike, the scale of this strike is much larger than Uri and Balakot.
Yeah.
You look at how multiple 9 targets, the headquarters of Jaish and LET being targeted. Imagine, had anybody thought that such a big strike can be carried out in Balakot? We had only bombed one camp of Jaish. Still there was a massive casualty there, but now you are actually
my
attacking
mind
the
goes back
headquarters.
to Chandrababu Naidu's statement. If you remember, just a few days back, when the Prime Minister went south, and he said, I saw the pain in the Prime Minister's eyes, and you have been mentioning that the Prime Minister was monitoring this all night, this operation. Perhaps has not slept. It was a very long day for him, wasn't it, yesterday, in any case?
Yes, absolutely, Rahul. In fact, Prime Minister had a series of meetings yesterday also. That's what I'm told. He was at a media event till about 10 in the night yesterday. And, after that, shortly after midnight, we see this operation happening. I think the Prime Minister, was very clearly monitoring this operation, and he was tracking every part of Pahalgam since day one. From the point he was in Jeddah, when this operation happened, he immediately called up Home Minister Amit Shah to rush to Jammu and Kashmir.
I have to interrupt you there, because it's also deja vu. 2019 Rising Bharat and